All right. Well, as we sit here on June 13th of 2026, uh, interesting times, I guess you could say, for the Gamecocks. Coming out of spring ball, certainly a lot to discuss. But we'll get started with uh, the NFL draft of recent and players who went. Not a lot this time, not nearly as many as there were a year ago. When you're 4-8, that's kind of expected because that means your program wasn't very good, which probably also means you didn't have the talent that you would expect to be heavy in the NFL right now. So we'll just quickly go through this. Brandon Cisse, uh, he will be with the Packers. He was the first Carolina player to be taken. He joins Keyshawn Nixon in Green Bay. So Green Bay going Carolina heavy at the corner position. So I think that's a good spot for him. I think anytime you go to a reasonable franchise like Green Bay, you can expect success. You can expect a high standard. And I think that's what Green Bay is expecting with a player like Cisse, who was one of the brighter stars last year. I think he is definitely somebody that they can rely on early on in his career. And I think that it is a good pickup for Green Bay.
Cisse is a big, tall, lanky guy. Keyshawn Nixon, his counterpart, who obviously played under the Muschamp staff. A lot of people don't remember Keyshawn Nixon, Compton, California, JUCO kid, came in with the previous staff. And Keyshawn Nixon is a strong and fast dude, but a little tinier. And Cisse gives you that prototypical long, lanky corner who's just a ball hawk and can break passes up. He reads the defense well, reads the offense well.
Yeah.
But a great complementary piece. I could see him being kind of that outside big body cover guy. Maybe they could slide Keyshawn into the slot corner.
Yeah, Cisse was definitely somebody last year that offenses kind of stayed away from for the most part. There were
Mm-hmm.
some that tested him, and oftentimes they paid for it. I think Cisse's speed is definitely something that the Packers were very high on, and that's why they took him. And I think he's going to be very productive for them, and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be very pleased with what they ended up with. Nick Barrett, he goes in the fifth round. He goes to the Chargers. He will join Kyle Kennard out there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Carolina guys lining up next to one another. I think Barrett is a guy that I think will be remembered kind of as underappreciated during his time at Carolina. I think that Los Angeles will probably really appreciate what he is able to do. Very productive player, very consistent player, and somebody I think that, again, you don't really know what you've got until it's gone. Hopefully, it's not the case because Barrett was extremely productive. You hope that the guys that are going to be replacing him on the line this coming season will be able to kind of bridge the gap there. But Barrett was definitely another one of those few bright spots you had a year ago. I remember, I believe it was Barrett in the A&M game who caused a fumble early, and was it Barrett who scooped and scored it, or was it Barrett just causing the fumble? It's That's one of those games, of course, you try to block out of your mind, but that was one of the brighter spots in that ball game.
Big body guy.
Yeah,
A
definitely
very high IQ guy. Another
able.
guy that reads the offense really well. Good stopgap guy up the middle. And obviously, as you alluded to, he's got that disruptive playmaking ability in the backfield, whether that's tackling the quarterback or the running back, getting a pass rush, or just being that stopgap guy up the middle. He'll be a nice compliment for them. I don't know. I know fifth round picks, and we'll allude to that with the next guy, but hopefully he just gets a shot, even if it's starting out on special teams or whatever it may be, or the kick team or whatever. But hopefully he gets this shot. He fits the mold of a Jim Harbaugh guy, just a
Yeah,
hard nosed, physical guy that you love to have on your team, just a positive teammate to have in the locker room.
absolutely. And somebody that has the potential to be kind of a wrecking ball right there in the middle. So you hope that he will be able to uh, take an opportunity and seize it once training camp and also once the preseason gets going. You hope he'll be able to make his mark and be able to find his way onto the roster full time and be able to be a part of that Chargers starting lineup, you would hope. So we'll see. Then finally, Jalen Kilgore will join TJ Sanders in Buffalo as another another fifth round pick, overall in 167. Kilgore, of course, we all know, very consistent, very capable, ball hawk. He had a extremely productive year last year in his junior year. Certainly a player that Carolina is most likely going to feel the absence of next season. Hopefully not too badly again, but certainly very happy for him, and hopefully he can have a very bright, long career in the NFL, starting with Buffalo here, and hopefully he can again find his way onto that roster spot and be able to make it. Maybe this is an opportunity for a special teams moment where he'll get called upon, and then you see him in the preseason making some plays here and there, and hopefully he will be able to find a permanent spot there in Buffalo.
Jalen Kilgore, shout out Jalen Kilgore. That upstate school sees him the same way that they used to see Devontae Holloman, and if you know, you know on
Yep.
that one what I'm talking about.
Stay away from him.
Stay away from him. Do not throw the ball at 2-4. And you alluded to him playing with TJ Sanders. Shout out to my boy TJ Sanders, fellow Swamp Fox, Marion Swamp Fox, and Gamecock like myself. So I'm quite impartial. But yeah, just
You
want
are
to say,
partial.
just want to say like, I just want to say that just a special ball player. And John didn't mention this, but we were at the school upstate at the game, and we had the pleasure of both meeting the Kilgore family, and
Yes.
they couldn't have been nicer people. And you can see how Jalen and Gerald both were raised by an awesome family.
Absolutely.
They're awesome young men, and Jalen's just a young man that has represented our university with the utmost class, and he's busted as you
Dignity
know
and-
what on the field.
Yeah.
And the numbers back it up. And this is, and I could have said the same about Bear, but man, this is an absolute steal for the Buffalo Bills. They're getting a first, second round talent in the 5th round.
Yeah, I agree. And ball hawking abilities, you definitely are going to be happy with that if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. And I think Jalen has a long future ahead of him. A couple of undrafted free agents were signed, not many. Brian Thomas Jr., he is on his way south to Jacksonville. Good spot for him. Again, you hope that he'll find a way onto the roster. If not, practice, nothing to sneeze at to be a practice squad guy.
Brian Thomas Jr. was kind of that forgotten guy. You had obviously that highly touted freshman of Dylan Stewart coming in, and we know what Stewie's capable of. And then you had Kyle Kennard come in, and then finally it's Brian Thomas's time to shine, and he kind of stepped to the forefront. A lot of double teams on Dylan Stewart last year, a lot of uncalled holding penalties. But when you have somebody that's that good, the good that comes out of it is somebody's got to be free. If there's a double team, it kind of reminisces you back to when we had a guy, Kelsey Quarles, at defensive tackle, whenever we had that Jadeveon Clowney and
or Chaz Sutton on the other end.
Yep.
Thomas had a nice season last year. Nothing to sneeze at, but not nearly as impactful, I would say, as Kyle Kennard. And, that's kind of unfair. That's hard to live up to. But, I think a good spot for him there in Jacksonville. Hopefully he can, again, find a way onto the roster. And, again, if he ends up being a practice squad guy, that's not anything to sneeze at. And, practice guys, they get their numbers called. Mm-hmm. So it would just be a matter of time waiting on his number to be called. One more signing, Monkel Goodwine, signing with Minnesota. And Monkel had a very productive year again last year. That's obviously why Minnesota took a flyer on him and signed him as an undrafted free agent. I think Goodwine is somebody that, again, like Thomas, can definitely be there for a while. Mm-hmm. He's definitely got the motor for it. He's got the work ethic for it. I think, again, if the preseason goes well for him, this could be a guy that finds his way onto a roster spot.
Monkel Goodwine's got a little bit of that Travian Robertson in him, just very quick and explosive.
Good comparison.
Off the ball. And Travian, remember, was a 7th round pick, so a guy that was almost undrafted. And I don't think that the Falcons regret that.
No.
Looking back. They had pretty good success with our guys. Also, remember a guy named Cliff Matthews, Cheraw, South Carolina, baby.
Yeah.
But Monkel is the guy that came in, and you were kind of like, yeah, whatever. We're getting this bench warmer for Alabama, like whatever, rah rah. And then he ends up getting some impactful playing time, and you're like, okay, I see why Nick Saban took this guy.
Exactly.
Like he's got a pretty good eye for talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Hmm.
And that's a guy that you take because Monkell was that low risk, high reward taken. Boy, did we get the high reward, especially the last year and a half we had him.
Yeah, definitely. Again, just some things here and there. Unfortunately, Carolina, as we all know, last year went 4-8, not because of Monkel Goodwine, and not because of any of the players that we've listed off today. So, best of luck to them in their professional careers, and hopefully they'll have long, successful careers, and hopefully they'll represent Carolina well. I expect them all to, and uh, we'll see how they do on Sundays as opposed to what they did the past couple of years on Saturdays. Speaking of Saturdays, let's turn our attention back to Carolina. Coming out of the spring, any big stories stick out to you?
First of all, just on a random aside, since Green Bay is on such a streak with South Carolina cornerbacks, don't forget there's a guy named Vakari Swain. Circle that name, Green Bay.
Yeah,
But he
he
can
might have
also,
he might have a spot there.
I think he's going to have a high spot, giving his also punt and kick return ability as
Yes,
well as his clever corner skills.
absolutely.
But what stands out? I mean, this is going to be a like Captain Obvious, but it's the upgrades in the staff that had to happen, and that starts with Kendall Browse, an offensive coordinator,
Mm.
and we'll also hit on running backs coach Stan Drayton, and maybe arguably the biggest of them all, although he may not get the same amount of praise as Randy Clements coming in offensive line, because him and Browse are obviously a package deal. They've been together for God knows how many years. They've coached together for what 15 to 20
Yeah,
years. Um,
going back to their days at Baylor.
yeah, and obviously it's a demonstrable, with all due respect, as Ricky Bobby says, to the guys that are outgoing. I
It's
mean,
in the
it's
Geneva
it's
Convention.
in the Geneva Convention for God's sakes, and uh, it, but I mean, let's be honest. All three are demonstrable upgrades from what we had, and they're the kind of guys that are going to instill that tough nose physicality you need.
Sure.
And Kendall Browse is bringing in. I've mentioned this before. Kendall Browse is bringing in a scheme that is unique to University of South Carolina. When we kick off against Kent State, it will be the first time you have seen a hurry up no huddle spread
Yes, a
run.
true hurry up no huddle spread
Mm,
from people that know it, who have been executing it for years, who are
yeah,
who kind of, I mean, this staff, Kendall Briles, the Briles family kind of helped write the book on that type of offense. So,
and I didn't mean to. I'm seeing your Dion Barnes name come
yeah,
up, and
I was going to
I
mention
didn't mean to
Barnes.
slide him nor Coach Smiley. I don't know as much about Coach Smiley other than he's an NFL guy, and obviously I was very impressed with what Coach Barnes did at his alma mater. By the way, he chose to
Yep.
leave to come here, Penn State. He did some great work there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a huge upgrade as well, even from what Carolina has lost uh, from this past season. You know, a lot of people were saying, how are you going to replace the
Sterling Lucas.
yeah, how are you going to replace him on the defensive line? Well, Shane Beamer did it. And I think Shane Beamer, I think, understands he is certainly under the microscope right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's unfair to say.
No.
I think he, though, has taken the early steps in the right direction to be able to go out and get this staff, replace kind of I hate putting it like this, but the problem child that you had there, or problem children, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
in this case. He's put the right people, I would say, in those seats. I think you're going to be very pleased with what you see, especially early on. And it's very good that Carolina has Kent State and Towson, and even to a degree Mississippi State to start
Yeah.
the season with, because you get a chance to uh, get accustomed to that offense in game situations. So something to be excited about, and I think that this staff addition is going to be huge for me. I think it's right now, and I'm sorry to be negative right now, but I think the biggest thing coming out of spring ball, the injuries up front. Jacarius Peak, it's just a freak thing that happens, unfortunately, and it it stinks that it happened, but unfortunately, injuries are part of the game. Um, however it happens, I mean, it can happen playing basketball. It could happen in a car wreck. Just ask Travian Robertson about that. It could happen in the game. Ask Marcus Lattimore about that. Injuries happen. You just have to do the best you can to deal with them. And it sounds like Peak is going to be okay. And from all intents and purposes, he should be ready to go in August when they fire up fall camp. So hopefully he'll be all right. Josiah Thompson, he is down for the count right now. He will take a medical red shirt and hopefully be back in 2027. Right there, that was somebody I think you and I were both hopeful for this season. But maybe it's a good thing that for him to take a year off, because let's be honest, in the 2 years he's been here, he has had some growing pains. We'll call it that. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's a good opportunity for him to take a step back, watch the game a little bit more, and kind of gain perspective from the sidelines that you might need to, as opposed to getting thrown into the fire. Not saying he's not capable, but every now and then you need to take a break and just kind of step back for a minute and just see what you could do from afar, as opposed to being right there in the fire. And you just hope that, and you hope he'll have a good recovery from his surgery, and he will be able to, like I said, come back in 2027 full go. The offensive line, of course, as we've alluded to, was certainly one of those sore spots last year. It stuck out like a sore spot. They got beat up left and right every single week. It was dreadful to watch, and not just last year, but the year before, and really in the years since Eric Wolford has been gone. You just hope that Randy Clements can come in, make an immediate impact, which I think he can, especially with what Carolina has added through the portal. Not just Jacarius Peak, but everybody. I believe it was 9 guys that were added through the portal on the offensive line this past season, or this past offseason?
It was a ton.
Yeah, so you just hope that they'll be able to make a quick impact, positively, of course. I think they will. You see the upgrades that they made through the portal up front. I think even though the 2 big guys that you've got right now on the offensive line are certainly having some question marks over themselves right now because of injury, certainly the other guys that are there, I think, can make a major positive impact. We'll see how that goes early on in the season, but again, I think those are the guys you look to that are kind of the big stories coming out of spring ball. Anything else stand out to you?
You really hit on the offensive line, and it really sucks what happened to Peak. And I think the worst part of that is just the reps he's going to lose this summer.
Right.
But looking at this, like I like to say, I like to view things pragmatically. It sucks to lose, though. I can't rationalize that. I can't sugarcoat that. That sucks. But if you look at this, if you take a step back and breathe a little bit here, allow me to inject a little bit of perspective, some positivity. He's going to learn the playbook. Jacarius Peak has played a ton of football at a high level at NC State, and he's ready to roll. As long as he can get inundated with that Bryles playbook, because it's going to be different than Kurt Roper's playbook from last year. But
you don't say.
He's gonna have to get inundated with that offense. He can just sit back and learn with no pressure on him. And let's be honest, if he misses the first 2 games, are we going to really lose Kent State or Towson without him? If we do, we've got some bigger problems than at left tackle.
If that happens, then you're going to see a lot of changes happen early.
Disband the program at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not going to happen is what I'm saying.
Pretty much, yeah. It's almost all but guaranteed. Don't say definite, but almost.
Yeah, we've seen some stuff. We're like farmers insurance. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. But
you ain't lying about that.
Anyways.
Yeah, man. And then you think about some of the guys that came on last season. One guy that stood out to me toward the end of the season that I think we're both excited to get a look at this year, defensive lineman Troy Pikes. I think that's somebody I think who was dealing with injury last year, and also I think really benefited toward the end of the season getting healthy, but also having Travian Robertson back there in the huddle to be able to talk to him. I think you're going to see a lot of production out of him. Excited to see what Troy can do. And, of course, when you talk about the spring, upgrades and certainly players who need to take a step forward, you can't go without saying Lenora Sellers. Of course, we all know what he did his freshman year. Last year, it looked like he took a step back. I think that was more I think that's more on the coaching staff last season than anything. I think they tried too hard to turn him into something that he's not. I think that bringing Kendall Briles in, knowing the kind of skill set that Lenoris has, I think Lenoris is built for this offense. I've said that from the day that Kendall Briles was hired. I think that this offense is going to fit him perfectly, and I think he is going to take not just one, but maybe two or three steps forward. That's me saying that here on June 13th, 2026. I may come back a year from now and be eating crow, but I genuinely believe that this is going to be a very bright year for number 16.
Are we talking like X Factor, or are we talking about like MVP? Because I've got 4 different answers on
Sure.
that.
Why not?
Okay, so if we're talking about guys that I think really need a big step forward year, first and foremost, and we've heard a lot of buzz about this kid, and I've been stoked on him from day one. And the biggest X factor to me to take a big step forward is big 2'8" Matthew Fuller.
Yes.
On offense, we got to get this run game going, and he's going to be our bell cow. Also, did hear a lot of great things about Christian Clark, I believe is his name.
Yes.
The transfer
From Texas.
Yeah. I'm looking really forward to seeing him, but I'm going to go Matt Fuller, impact player on offense, because I think it goes without saying what 16 brings. And so I'm going to go Matt Fuller for impact player on offense, on impact player on defense. That's a really tough choice, but like if you're forcing me to pick, we need that lockdown corner, and I'm going to go Judge Collier on the defensive end. Okay. Now guys that I could see taking a big step forward this year, Mazeo Bennett on offense. He's going to really benefit from this system more than anybody. Heard great things about him out of camp. Mm-hmm. This is a young man you can't give up on after a sophomore slump. And I think he redshirted, so he'll technically be a redshirt sophomore this year. But he's a kid you don't throw in the towel and quit. He's got all the potential in the world. And shout out to that kid for sticking with us.
Yeah.
He could have left when the going was rough, and he didn't play last year. He gave Shane Beamer a chance. He's giving Kendall Briles a chance. Says a lot about the young man's character.
He's listed as a junior, but nevertheless, I think I'm with you, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think Mazeo and Lenoris are kind of in the same spot. Although, Lenoris was certainly in the spotlight. Mazeo kind of took a step back and kind of disappeared a little bit last year. But like you said, a lot of good things coming out of the spring around him. A lot of positive feedback about him. A lot of positive feedback you said about Matt Fuller. That was one of the bigger surprises for me because, Fuller had a nice season last year, but nothing that really you would write home about necessarily. But hearing, the words that are coming out about him, the buzz that's coming out about him, I think, yes, that running game is going to be, I think, light years ahead of what it was a year ago. And I think you're going to see, an improved offensive line will certainly help. And I think these guys in that running back room are going to have a much more productive and better year than they had a year ago.
Yeah, and the reason I went with Fuller and Collier is because it's very obvious to sit here and say, and no dislike to you by saying this, but it's very obvious for me to say Lenore Sellers on offense and Bakari Swain on defense. But to finish my answer, the guys that need to step forward on defense, I'm actually going to go 5 because I'm going to do a co-answer. And it's your linebackers, Sean Murphy and Justin Okonkwo. Because both of those guys really need to take a step forward this year. And I don't say I disrespect them from last year. They made some great plays, and they made some poor ones just like any other player on this team.
I think
they have great potential, both of them.
I think at times that linebacker room was way too inconsistent a year ago. I mean, they had their moments. Man. Yeah, they had do it. They had their moments last year. I mean, Fred Johnson had a huge game against Virginia Tech.
Kid's a baller.
Yeah, he is. And and just not enough. You didn't hear enough about him, say, against Alabama or A&M or any of those games that Carolina came down to the end of and lost. And that happens. I mean, when you're not able to close the deal out, that means that your big-time playmakers are not coming up in the clutch.
Absolutely.
And that happened to us way too often last season. So
it's a good problem to have too. When I'm like going back through my mind, I'm like, well, crap, I left Nick Harbor out. Like, crap, I left Caleb Herring out, who was a factor at Tennessee last year.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring Nitro Tuggle up, and there's other guys I could bring up that we brought in. That's a young man right there. I'm excited to see as a true freshman, Jazavian Currents.
Donovan Murph's
a guy that could take a big step forward. He's a little bit down in the depth chart this year from what I read, and that's kind of because we brought those experienced guys in,
Yeah,
like Tuggle and what was the other Gibson that we brought in
believe
that was
so.
playing in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Jaden
yeah,
Gibson, right?
yeah. I think you are correct. The first transfer player we ended up taking this offseason.
And I'd say the same thing about Donovan Murphy as I did last year about Mazio Bennett. If he's a little buried under the depth chart and he the red shirt for sparingly plays this year, don't give up on the kid just yet. He's got a lot of football left to play here, and he's gonna be a dang good one.
Yeah, and another one that's going to really, I think, take another step forward, Jaden Sellers. I think,
Dude,
obviously, playing with your brother, you've already got the rapport,
I hope
but
he stays here when his brother leaves. I haven't heard any reports of him being unhappy.
yeah,
He's a South Florence kid as well.
came on strong there at the end of the season last year.
Dude, I think he'll be just fine whether Landon Duckworth is the quarterback next year or if Cutter Woods is the quarterback or if we bring in a portal guy.
Yep,
He's gonna be fine. Pup Sellers is gonna be a ball.
definitely, definitely. And
Hank Purvis, when you're pulling up the roster, heard a lot of great things about that. That's a mammoth of a dude.
yes, he transferred in from Purdue after last season.
Love
So
those Midwestern guys on the
yeah,
line. Give me more of them.
yes. So
If they look like they can pull and push a tractor with their bare hands, then I want them on our offensive line.
yeah,
Give me more.
you can't say it any better than that. So looking forward to what those again, just that offensive line, I think, is one of the bigger stories coming out of the spring.
Oh yeah.
So another thing that's been coming out post spring, obviously the schedule release happened earlier in the off season, but now we're starting to get some time slots in there. Opening day against Kent State, 12:45, September 5th. Looking forward to that. I know it's going to be hot. It's going to be muggy as it always is, but something early in the season, early afternoon. I kind of like that because one, you get an opportunity to see the rest of the games, especially the night games that are going to be capping off week one, but also because, it seems like every time you get a night game early in the year, it always comes with a hurricane. So hopefully this will allow us to avoid the bad weather. If you're going to that game, certainly take a bottle of water, take some sunscreen. You're going to need it for sure.
And wear a hat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seriously.
Yeah, especially now that, we're both in our 30s. We're probably at that age where we definitely need a hat, if you know what I'm saying.
Dude, well, I'm not there yet, but my neck's going to get burnt if I don't wear it. But if you've never been to a game at Williams-Brice before, just friendly advice, it is hot as heydays in there. Please, please, please exercise caution and take care of yourself. Pace yourself. Drink lots of water.
Stay hydrated. Yes, you will need it. Week 2, Towson. Even though it's going to be 7 o'clock on September 12th, it's still going to be hot and muggy, and that's where you might run into weather issues. Like we saw last year against South Carolina State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was rough. But nevertheless, I mean, again, the first 2 games, not bad time slots. You hope that Bryles offense will allow Carolina to be comfortable once they start SEC play the following week on September 19th at 4:15 p.m. against Mississippi State. Not a bad time to have it. You're going to be in the shadow. The shadows are going to be cast over the field, so hopefully the sun won't be that much of a factor early in the season.
Super pumped they're using that logo again, by the way.
Oh yeah,
That's
definitely.
A sweet logo.
The old school MSU logo like they had during the Jackie Sherrill era.
Love that.
I don't mind the script logo though.
I don't either, but I love that logo.
Yeah. Then week 4, September 26th, Carolina will travel to Tuscaloosa at night to take on the Crimson Tide of Alabama, the SEC runner-up last year. Never easy to go to Tuscaloosa, especially at night, but, anything can happen. We shall see.
The last 2 times we played them have been a 1-score loss.
Yep.
Crazy.
Then Carolina comes home, and it'll be a flex schedule, so no telling what time that'll be against Kentucky on October 3rd. October 10th, Carolina goes to Florida. It will be in the early window, so 12 o'clock, 12:45, somewhere in that neighborhood. We shall see, but an early kick there in Gainesville. So if you're going down there, you probably are going to have enough time to stay on Friday night, and if you want to, come home on Saturday afternoon and get home relatively late, but, probably before midnight, I would say.
Yeah.
Uh, then October 24th, Carolina goes to Knoxville. It'll be an afternoon kick. I guess afternoon means like 3:30, 4:15, somewhere in those time slots. Uh, October 31st, Halloween Day at Oklahoma. That'll be a flex.
Ooh.
That'll be a flex schedule.
That's brutal.
So no telling what time that is. A&M in week 9 on November 7th. That will be an afternoon kick. So again, I think 3:30, 4:15, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Then Carolina goes to Fayetteville on November 14th. Another flex schedule. Same with week 11 against Georgia on November 21st. And then the upstate school on November 28th. Time to be determined. So
it'll be 12, like always.
We shall see. Hopefully so, because if you're traveling to that game and you're a Carolina fan, getting home before 9 o'clock is always a positive.
For some reason, they are just gung ho about having that game at 12, and for also some stupid reason, a little off topic, but apparently they love having the basketball game when the students are on a Christmas break at both schools, which is dumb.
Remember a couple of years ago when it happened, I think?
It was the second game of the year.
Yeah, that was fine.
It was a great atmosphere for that.
Absolutely. But anyway, that covers the schedule release there. So that kind of wraps up football, but not the only breaking news that has occurred in the athletic department. Carolina women's basketball finishes second. Just falling short there in the national championship game. Great effort on their part.
Shout out to UCLA, man. They had a
They
team.
took it to them.
They had a squad.
They took it to them both in the regular season and the NCAA tournament. So
undisputed champs for them, man. Hats off to you.
Absolutely. And it just as a reminder, it's not easy to win a national championship at any level. But I think the biggest news this offseason in Carolina football around the athletic department, certainly you go back to March, and Paul Maneri was relieved of his duties, thank God. Just, again, it goes back to what I've said about the last 2 baseball hires that Ray Tanner made. They just didn't make any sense. None of them made sense. So he was relieved early in the season. Monty Lee took over, did an admirable job, but admirable is not what you're looking for here. You're looking for someone that's going to win a national championship, and Carolina, I think, has the right man to do that, hiring officially yesterday on June 12th, 2026, Kevin Schnall. You're from the Horry County area. Lay it on us.
This has been a hot button topic, and I live 15 minutes from CCU's campus, which is right on Highway 544. And they call it Myrtle Beach. It is not in Myrtle. Just y'all, it's in Conway.
Yeah.
Okay. Like it is not. Like don't expect to pull up to their stadium and there's sand and you're at the beach. You're in Conway on Highway 544. You about 20 minutes from the beach.
Yeah,
but
back when they were a satellite university, it was USC Conway, not USC Myrtle Beach.
Yep. But
there's a reason for that.
But Kevin Schnall, obviously a guy with a ton of history there. He referenced this in his press conference that he spent 23 years in the dugout with Coach Gilly, with Gary Gilmore, and then 2 more years as head coach on his own. So 25 years he spent at that school, and that's an ungodly amount of your life. That's
the majority of your life.
That's over half his life. I think he's 49 years old, and 25 of his years have been at Coastal Carolina. So I know the place is really special to him. A lot of people really were bent out of shape about this, and I understand.
You don't like losing your guy.
A lot of people were like mad at me, and I'm like, well, look, I'm not the athletics. I'm not Jeremiah Donati, but I'm also not apologetic about it because I want our program to be good. I care about our program more than I do about theirs. I wish them well. I hope Chris Lamonis does. He's a great coach. I'm sure he'll do a great job, and they're a great program. But
and in all likelihood, we're going to see them at some point or another
this year
during baseball. So,
I
guess next year.
They have this old saying that you either die a hero or you live long enough to be the villain, and I guess we're just playing villain. And again, shout out to Jeremiah Donati for going out and.
Well, we've got our own hero that turned into a villain. We won't touch on that, but you know.
But I mean,
bitter much? You bet I am.
Well, I understand, like the angst and consternation from Coastal fan base because he's one of theirs, and they're getting a little bit of a Judas vibe from it. Is kind of what I'm sensing, and I get it. And I'll say this to the Coastal fan base, if anybody's listening, Tom Hill is all, and
Yeah.
he's one of you, and he'll always be one of you. And I know you're like, well, screw you. Like it's easy for you to say because you hired him away. Well, yeah, but he still spent 25 years at your school. He was responsible for a national title as an assistant and a national runner-up as your head coach.
Yeah.
Be appreciative of what he did for your school, and it's an admirable job that he's done there. And I'm sure thankful that he's the head coach of the University of South Carolina because we could do a whole lot worse, and
Yeah.
I'm not really sure we could have done better if possible.
I'm going to give a huge praise here to Jeremiah Donati. One, he got the guy. There was no compromise on this. I think Carolina was going to go after a high-profile guy. This was somebody that was kind of the leader in the clubhouse from the get-go. A lot of people pointed at him and said, if you're going to get somebody, go and get this guy. And again, this one makes sense. So I'm happy with that. And it also shows that Jeremiah Donati is going to go out and get the guy that is going to bring you notoriety, somebody that's going to bring you the opportunity to win championships. I think that that's what Kevin Schnall is going to do. I think that I'm not anointing him as the savior right now, but if you're going out there and making a hire and you're going to ask somebody, if you're in the state of South Carolina and you want to win a national championship again, who are you going to go out and get? Kevin Schnall would probably be at the very top of that list, a very short list, and Jeremiah Donati showed he is willing to go out and get the high-profile guy that is sought after, who is already, to a degree, very proven, and somebody that is, I guess, in demand.
My argument with this, a lot of people, and I totally agree with you, by the way, Snall's been the guy I've wanted all along. Now, when Scott Forbes' name jumped into the thing, I'm kind of like, all right, well, this is a 1A, 1B situation for me.
You're certainly
I'm thrilled
intrigued
with
by
neither.
it.
I'm not neither. I mean, I'm thrilled with either, right?
Yeah.
But
Or Steve Sabins.
but here's what I was going to say. It's funny you said Steve Sabins. I was going to argue against Steve Sabins for Schnall, and let me explain. Let me expand upon that. They both been the head coach for 2 years.
Right.
Sabins is where right now?
West Virginia.
Yeah, but where is he?
Omaha.
Right? Omaha.
Yep.
Has he won it yet?
Nope.
Has he made the national championship yet?
Nope.
Guess who did last year?
The guy that was introduced as South Carolina's baseball coach last night.
That is correct. So
Yeah.
the detractors that said Schnall is not experienced enough, but you turn around and say Sabins is, they're the same guy, except for that Schnall has already made it farther as a head coach. Oh,
Correct.
and mind you, they both were assistants at their program. Who won a national championship as an assistant? Was it Sabins or was it Kevin Schnall?
Again, that's Kevin.
It was Kevin
Yeah,
Schnall.
it was Kevin Schnall. And I think,
okay, point proven.
well, I think also your point right there, that Steve Sabins is in Omaha right now. So is Skylar Meade. So is Steve Forbes.
Scott Forbes.
Scott Forbes. I'm sorry.
You were thinking of Steve Sabins.
Yeah, you're right. I was. But nevertheless, those guys are in Omaha right now. And we've seen what happens when you do wait on the guy you want.
Oh, yeah.
Even though that one didn't make sense either.
That's no disrespect to Sabins, by the way. John, sorry if I cut you off.
You're good.
That's
No,
no disrespect to Sabins. I think he would have been, any of those guys would have been an excellent hire. And obviously we know
the problem
what
is
Skylar
that
Meade's capable of.
the problem, the problem is that you just cannot wait. You have to make a move. And, you know, especially with how things have gone at South Carolina for the last 3 years, I would even argue, even in the last year of Mark Kingston. I think you have to make the move, not just to make a splash hire, but also you need to get the ball rolling on recruiting. You need to get, you need to just basically get this part over and done with. And if you've got your guy in Kevin Schnall, get him.
And Donati actually referenced that in his press conference too, that you got to have both the short term and a long term plan. And if you wait on Omaha, then you're virtually throwing next year away.
Absolutely. And if, I know it's not likely, but if all three of those guys ended up turning you down and you come back to Schnall and say, hey, you ready to be our head coach? I was ready 3 weeks ago. I'm not ready now. That could happen. And that's kind of what happened the last time. Well, or at least before Mark Kingston was hired anyway. So I go Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Also, I wanted to remind everyone last year. Don't forget, yes, Tennessee promoted Josh Elander to head coach after Tony Vitello went to San Francisco Giants. Who was the first person they called in for an interview? Actually, though, John.
Was it Kevin Schnall?
That's correct.
How about that? I was right.
And once they couldn't work out the details, they then promoted Elander.
Right.
Which I would deduce that Kevin Schnall was Tennessee's top target last year. So Tennessee caught 2 L's to South Carolina because the same thing happened with one Chad Holbrook.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's neither here nor there anymore.
I just like rubbing in on Tennessee. And also, by the way, remember that time we scored 63 points on you?
I was about to say, if you want to rub it into Tennessee fans, just tell them that we were the better team than them in 2022, and that's why we beat them.
Spencer Rattler just threw another touchdown again, by the way.
Yeah. And, Williams-Brice Williams-Brice still doesn't have any fireworks left after that night. I just love rubbing it in on Tennessee fans, even though they are on our schedule this year. Nevertheless,
hey, we have plenty to save prior with Marcus Satterfield at the helm.
Oh, Lord.
He saved a lot of fireworks.
Again, neither here nor there.
True.
But yeah, I think it's safe to say you and I and just about every other Carolina fan out there are very pleased with this hire. June 13th, we have only a handful of days left. They're now down to double digits before September 5th. So looking forward to opening day and looking forward to media days, looking forward to, summer camp getting going. It's hard to call it fall camp in August when it's 1,000 degrees out. Humidity is just as high. Yeah, that's not fall. I'm sorry. Fall doesn't really begin around here until sometime after Halloween. But yeah, I think coming out of spring, you feel comfortable enough to feel like, yeah, we can do some damage this year. Things are just going to have to come together. Guys are going to have to get healthy. This coaching staff is going to have to work, which I think they will work out. Time will tell. It's certainly not an optimistic outlook from the national perspective, and I think a lot of fans internally are not overly optimistic, and who can blame them? When you're 4-8, there's not really much room for optimism, but when you peel back the layers a little bit and just see what has happened over the offseason, I think there is reason to feel at least somewhat cautiously optimistic. I'm certainly there, and I think you are to a degree as well. So we'll just have to see how things go, see how things progress in August, and just hear all the things that are coming out of fall camp after all that, and then we can kick it off against Kent State on September 5th at 12:45.
It's really easy to sit here and say, well, last year happened. I'm not going to sugarcoat last year. It's up.
There's nothing you can do to sugarcoat that.
But I will say this. I know coaches are very, this is going to sound like coach speak here. You have to go 1-0 every week.
Yep.
You can't look at that total body that you can. Yep. You can sit there and live in doom and gloom and say, well, we've got to go to Arkansas. We've got to play Will Stein in Kentucky. And, well, Mississippi State could be really good because Jeff Lebby knows how to get players. And we got to go to Alabama again. And we've got to play the upstate school way.
Well, just remember, they also have to play. Just remember, they also have to play Lenore Sellers. They have to play against Dylan Stewart, Nick Harbor, Kendall Briles. They have to play against all of that. So
we're going to have a good team, too.
Hopefully, it will be hopefully the expectations will be met and exceeded for this season. So
absolutely,
yeah.
I also wanted to, before we jumped off, wanted to also always thank you for the opportunity to sit and discuss with you. For those that don't know, John celebrated his birthday last week.
Oh gosh,
I wasn't able to come up here to celebrate with him, so he had some other stuff going on. So we kind of rescheduled this week, and look what happens. Just perfect timing. This.
Yep.
We get the Schnall hire, and I'm here, and we're able to have this. So just one of those things where it was just perfect timing, and quite frankly, the weekend couldn't win any better.
Hopefully, we can do this again before September 5th. But if we got to do it over Zoom, we'll do it there. But until the next one, it was a good one, buddy.
Yeah. Peace, guys.
All right.
Y'all take care.
Y'all too.